Any day. All right, there we go. So we have Mr. Spoken here, and we're gonna just have a little chat about some biology. So there were some questions I think you had about certain things that you've been wondering about.
Yeah, a few. If you want to talk about them.
Sure, let's go over.
All right, 1 second. Let me find them. I have them in my head, but I wrote them down like in text, so it'd be better. I will say I was just in TST. I had to leave because my phone was overheating, and that wasn't that long ago. But my phone seems to be cool now. But just a forewarning, that's something that happened. Uh, what was it? Where was that thread? No, it wasn't that one. I know the first one was pretty much. Is this it? No, man. Why are they all linking to the same freaking video? I hate my phone. Hate doing everything on my phone. This is just not convenient. I think I found it. Okay. What was my first question? If I even asked one. Okay. Then I want to know the entire evolutionary path for elephants, from their original species where they came from up into the elephants that we have today. That'd be the first question.
The evolutionary path of elephants.
Yeah, the entire the descent for of the elephants to get to from where they were to where they are now.
Okay. So I'm just briefly looking over this. Wow, actually, let's see, pretty good cladogram here. You have about 36 million years ago, you had their ancient ancestor, the Paleomastodon, and then you have branching off into uh, Moetherin, Mori theorem, and then to the left of here it says Diotheres, and then looks like their evolution doesn't really converge all that much. So you go up a little bit for about 24 million years. You have Gomphotheres on the left, and on the right here you have Mammutitis, and then go up a little bit more. Last 5 million years, you have Stegodons, and that they just branch off the more Stegodons. You have the primary line, which is the Primeelephas, Elephantidae, what we call elephants. On the left hand side of that, you have more Dinotherium, and they just kind of die off within the last like 100, yeah, not even 100, actually, probably like last 50,000 years. And then you have about the most recent, I should say, 10,000 years ago, you have Mammothus, which is just mammoths, the Elephas, the Asian elephants, Loxodonta, the African elephant, and I already mentioned the Stegodon, the mammoth, which lasted up until the last 10,000 years. So, and then these top two, the other ones I mentioned, the African and the Asian, are really the only ones we have left, since we all know the woolly mammoth is no longer with us, unfortunately.
Right. I'm assuming you're reading this from a book, or this isn't something you can post on the screen, which that would be fine.
It's actually on a elehost.com.
EllaHost.com. Oh, okay. I mean, I'm on my phone. I would ask for a link. Ella Host. I just want to see
Uh,
what.
well, I'm curious that you've had this in your mind. Do you not look it up at any point?
No.
Uh, you mind? I mean, why not? Because it took me all of 2 seconds to find this.
Oh, I never heard. No, I've never heard of this website. No.
Well, there's another one on Cornell University's website with birds and elephants. Gives a gives a text version of what I went over. Yeah, there's lots of Loxodonta right now, and it's showing. It's actually talking about the migration that they made to Asia and Africa. That's how we have the two distinct versions now of African and Asian elephant.
All right. So so the elephants in general, they came from, like, what was the beginning species, like the origin of their of them in general, of the elephants, and everything that led to the elephants. Was that the entire list?
Well, that was just a monophyletic clade. They start off with a Paleomastodon.
Okay. 1 second here. 1 second. So I'm looking up the definition of a clade. A clade is a group of organisms believed to have evolved from a common ancestor.
Hmm.
Is that all it is? Just something? Is it a belief?
What do you mean, just a belief? I'm not sure what you mean by that.
I'm looking up in the noun in biology for clade, CLADE, and it says
Hmm.
group of organisms believed to have evolved from a common ancestor, according to the principles of cladistics.
Okay, I'm not sure why you're
Well,
focusing
so
on.
if this is just a belief here.
What do you mean, just a belief? I'm not sure why you're trying to add just in front of the term belief. Does that change the meaning of belief?
No, no. I mean, like I said, it's a belief. It's nothing more than a belief.
Well, every scientific fact is a belief.
Yeah, you guys accept it provisionally, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, if this is just what you believe, as I said from the beginning, that's fine. But I'm asking for like the evidence that shows that this is actually that was the case in reality back in the past.
Well, okay, so you're drawing a distinction between a belief and something that has evidence to back it up, are you trying to draw a distinction between a belief and a fact? I guess I'm asking.
Well, I'm assuming you're telling me this stuff because you want me to accept it and believe it, right?
You can choose to accept it, on your own volition. It doesn't matter to me. Um,
Oh, I mean,
since I mean,
everything, nothing you told me is convincing.
that's an argument for incredulity. I mean, that there's
No,
literally.
well, you're using cladistics, and a clade is something that's just believed to come from. So that you're just presupposing that
I,
you're
I didn't presuppose
presupposing that
anything.
cladistics is right because it's something that's believed to come from a common ancestor.
Well, I just told you that it's provisional. Why would I have a presupposition if I hold it provisionally? That makes no sense.
No, I'm talking about clades or cladistics is a presupposition.
How would it be a presupposition and everything in science is held provisionally? That's a contradiction.
Okay, well, if it's because it literally says the word believed to have evolved from a common ancestor.
Yes, because it is held provisionally. That means that there's
Okay,
evidence to support that there. So that warrants a belief that this is the correct turn of events. If there's a
what's the
different
evidence?
piece of evidence, morphology, I mean, is there a certain set of genetic traits that you're looking for to draw a parallel to?
No, I want to know how this happened in history.
What do you mean happened in history?
Well, this supposedly happened in real life in history before we got here, right? I want to know the evidence that shows that this is actually the case of what happened in history. Otherwise, I see no reason to believe it. I mean, it's a good guess. I don't mind calling it a good guess. I mean, sure, it's a good
I
guess.
mean, you can call it a guess if you want to, but what
Yeah,
specific evidence are you looking for?
I'm looking for the evidence that this actually happened in reality.
Okay, are you looking for genetics or morphology?
I'm looking for. I actually know what I would like. I would like to know specifically. I'm not sure what that would fall under, but
Well, hold on
you
for a
bacon
second. Hold on, wait, wait,
or
wait. Let's slow down for a second.
okay,
Wait, you asked for evidence
yeah,
to convince you of this,
yeah. The evidence
and
that
I
shows
offered you two of
yeah,
the best things that one can have in order to validate this, and you
those are
just
just
kind of
guesses.
brushed aside both of them.
Well, no, those are just guesses. I don't want to guess.
Wait, morphology and genetics are guess. Wait, what?
Well, no, the cladistics is a guess. You were using
That's
cladistics.
fine, and I can fully accept that. So, in
Oh,
order
okay.
to validate the cladistics, the evidence that you would seek would be something more empirical, correct?
I don't know how you would invalidate a belief.
What do you mean invalid? If you find evidence that shows that I don't know, the mammotus was not related to the current Asian or African elephant, that would be pretty convincing.
Well, okay. Here's a good question. So apparently, us humans, we're related to bananas, right?
When you say related to bananas, on what level are you referring to?
Distant cousins.
Distant cousins? I mean, if you want to draw a cladogram, you probably a mile long. So if you want to say our relatedness is from from me to China in relation to in comparison, I guess I could say to us and chimps, then yeah, if you want to say that.
Yeah, we're just more distant than the chimps, but we're related to bananas outright, right?
Yeah, we're all multicellular. Yeah, we're all.
So how do we establish that we're truly related? And like, how do we establish that there's a true relation between like this is the banana is truly my cousin? You know what I mean? How do you go about solving that?
Well, first you would look you would look into genetics. If there is a genetic similarity, then that's kind of a case closed at that point. I'm pretty sure I could look up something. Huh?
Genetic similarity to what degree?
To any degree. Like if you have because when you have a particular genetic sequence in a fellow organism, you can say, well, they have homologs. They have something in common. You have something that is shared between those two organisms.
Why can't it just be a common designer?
What do you mean common designer?
Like they both came from the same designer.
So a designer, why would a designer use the same genetics for a banana toward a human?
Well, they're not the same. There's some similarities, but they're not the same.
So those similarities would have to be on a genetic level, correct?
When you're talking about DNA?
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah.
What other genetics is there other than DNA?
Well, like I said, I'm agreeing.
Wait, no, hold on, wait. What other genetics is there other than DNA? I'm curious.
Well, no, I was agreeing with you. So, like, yes, like DNA. I was just being specific.
Say it again.
I was just being specific. So, yeah, DNA. Yeah.
There's only when we're talking about genetic, we're talking about DNA. Just so we're clear on that. There's no other genetics you could have been talking about.
That's what I said.
Okay. So you want to find the genetic similarities between plantate and animalia,
said that
right?
Because there are genetic similarities that therefore we are cousins or we are related.
That's what we would use. Yes.
The designer I'm not saying he did or that it's even a he, but a designer could have just used a similar like trait. Like, DNA is a lot like a book. There could just be some similar paragraphs, some similar, but in general, like the books are different things. It just has signatures from the same designer because they share a same designer.
That's odd though, since we see these similarities in odd places. And one of the oddities is the one that Wayne mentioned a while back with the chicken yolk in humans. Why would we have something like that? It's odd that if this designer specifically is designing these two organisms,
mm-hmm.
and one has no use at all for chicken yolk or leg egg or anything like that, what would be the point of that?
Well, you'd have to ask the creator or the.
We can, since we can't ask the creator why this nonsensical thing exists. I think we'll take the assumption with the hypothesis with the least amount of assumption. We'll apply a little bit of Occam's razor here and say that there's a divergence that happened at some point.
I don't see how that's playing Occam's razor. If there is a creator, you'd have to ask the creator for his prerogative and why he wanted to include something in his creation that might not make sense to us.
And you don't think assuming a creator at the beginning of that poses a little bit of issue there?
No.
You would have to first prove the creator in order to posit that something actually.
DNA is more complicated than any computer language created by man. So I don't think it's far-fetched to say that something intelligent designed it.
You would have to have evidence that there is something that is intelligent that is not human.
Well, I don't need to. I can just propose hypothetically.
You can pose hypothetically, but has there been intelligence determined and proven through testing and experimentation?
We haven't seen the whole
organism.
We haven't seen the whole of reality, so we can't conclude either way.
Okay, so before we start attributing intelligence to other things, we need to stick with what we have observed.
Well, okay.
You're making another assumption.
Here's the thing. I agree with you there. I agree. We should go with what we know. So when it comes to language, only thing that we know that makes language is intelligence.
Humans with intelligence.
Like in intelligence, like we have human language, and we also have computer language. We have all different kind of languages attributed to us humans and our intelligence, right?
Yes.
So when it comes to language, generally intelligence is what can create language, right?
Human intelligence, yes.
Well, yes, but I mean, it's not just human intelligence. We don't know if there's other intelligence before it, because if we are intelligent, and if this proposition is true, then we will be created by something even more intelligent than us.
Have we seen intelligence in anything other than humans?
We haven't seen a lot of things.
Okay, have we seen intelligence in entities other than humans?
Some other humans have that we might not know of.
Okay, have we seen intelligence in any other entity other than humans? It's a really simple question. It's a yes or no question.
The answer is, have we seen it? No, that's not I mean,
Okay,
it's
then
not a relevant question.
that's the crux of the issue there.
It's
You
not.
have
It's
not
not an
seen
issue.
any other intelligence. So
That's not an
positing
issue.
an imaginary one to fill in the blanks here is not a really good argument because you have to, again, you're making assumptions to try and fit a narrative.
It's okay. What kind of stupid assumption is it? A stupid assumption that language comes from intelligence?
No, but when you
Okay,
say
well,
intelligence,
that's
that
just
implies human. But here's what you're missing. When you say intelligence, you're only specifically speaking about humans there.
yeah.
That's
But
the
here's the
issue. That's
thing.
a big issue.
Here's the thing. Us humans, we didn't invent the language that's in DNA.
You calling it a language because it can be analogous to a language doesn't mean it is an actual language.
It has periods like a language, right? It has stop points.
You mean the ending codons?
Yeah.
Sure, and it has beginnings with TAC.
Yeah. I mean, it has. So it kind of functions and is structured like a language.
It's people refer to it as a language because it is analogous to that. That helps students learn what it is. It's not an actual language.
It's
An
actually.
actual
But
language.
here's the thing. It's more complex than any language that we have ever made.
I mean, that's an opinion. There's really nothing you could. How would you even begin to quantify that?
Well, considering the sheer, first off, this we're using humans are made up of a bunch of dead parts, but somehow we're living.
What do you mean dead parts?
Like what inside of us is living? Like our heart living? Our heart doesn't live by itself. Our skin doesn't live by itself. Our ribs and our lungs and everything like that, they aren't like our ribs aren't alive. Our ribs aren't living, anything like that. You know what I mean? We're made up of a whole bunch of parts that aren't necessarily living, yet we ourselves are alive.
Okay, so we have an emergent property brought to us by the
Nothing.
wonderful mechanisms that are our organs and tissues.
You don't know how we emerged.
Okay, we have a couple hypotheses as to how we emerged.
You don't
So,
know how DNA emerged.
okay, well, there's the RNA world hypothesis out there that's trying to fill in those gaps. Actually, you could look up ribozymes sometime, and you might learn something.
So you're saying that we do know how DNA was formed and emerged?
Actually, there's been strides being made right now in
Do we
RNA
know-
world hypothesis. I didn't say there's no for certain. No, there's still an ongoing research about that.
Is it a provisional scientific fact at least?
At everything in science is provisional.
I know. Is it considered a scientific fact yet? That we know how DNA emerged?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I don't know what you're talking about then.
I mean, have you ever heard of RNA world hypothesis?
No.
Then you really don't know what I'm talking about, do you?
Well, that's why I asked you. Is it
Okay, well, if
theory?
it's considered, well, if you want to call it a fact based on the amount of evidence, based on how many people profess it, then I think you're going at this the wrong way. You go where the evidence lies, not what somebody tells you. No, even if I told you it was a fact, that doesn't mean anything. You need to actually go and look what it is.
Is it on the scientific theory like the same as like gravity or something like that?
I just said it was a hypothesis.
Okay, well, if it's just a hypothesis, I really don't care.
I mean, you can not care about it, but every theory that exists now was at one time a hypothesis. So, I mean, you can.
Well, duh.
You can.
I don't care about every hypothesis.
Well, here, if it's a
We care
no
about
duh,
the
then I mean,
hypothesis.
you like brushing it aside
We care
because
about the
hypothesis
theories,
is
not the
ridiculous.
hypothesis, right?
Say it again.
We care about the theories, not the hypothesis,
We
right?
care about all of them. Like, what are you talking about?
Listen, if you can do this, if you can test the hypothesis, and go for it. But if not,
That's what they're there for. What do you think hypotheses are made for?
theory.
Like, what do you understand the scientific method?
Yes.
Okay, so what is the purpose of forming a hypothesis?
The hypothesis, you test the hypothesis in order to get to and if it's true or if it works out, then you can escalate it to a theory.
You test it to make sure that it's able to face scrutiny later on. Experimentation does you don't prove a hypothesis.
I'm not saying prove as in seriously, dude.
Did you not say prove?
Did I say that? I
Did
said
you?
scientific proof.
Okay, you don't prove a hypothesis.
I'm saying
Again,
scientific as
you
in
don't prove that. That's what I'm saying. You don't. I mean, to you, it may seem like a small colloquial, grammatically correct kind of thing, but it's very important you understand how this actually works because you trying to like discard a hypothesis because you don't like it. That's not how it works.
If the hypothesis hasn't been tested or if it hasn't been shown to be true, then why would I care?
What? How do you? What? Wait. At what point did I say it hasn't been tested? When did that? Where did that come from?
Tested?
Yes.
Okay, has it been shown to be true?
Evidently so. If it's still a hypothesis, the RNA world hypothesis has been around for quite some time.
I thought so. It's not a scientific theory though.
No, it has not been upgraded to theory as of yet.
What?
But do you actually know the process and how long it takes from a hypothesis to go to a theory? Do you have any idea how long that can actually take?
No, I imagine it could take a while.
Okay, so why should that be a point of contention for you?
Well, I'm saying, is it a scientific theory? If it's not, I don't really care.
Okay, again, you just said you don't know how long something would take to become a theory.
I imagine it would.
So the fact that it's not a theory yet would kind of contradict what you just said. I mean,
well, no, I mean,
am I just mishearing you?
Varies.
I mean, it seems strange that you somewhat acknowledge how science works, but then the second it doesn't kind of comport to the narrative, then you kind of like
hypothesis to hypothesis.
Say it again.
Wouldn't it vary from hypothesis to hypothesis, meaning some will be easier to test than other?
Possibly, yeah, depending on what they're testing.
So what you're saying doesn't make any sense. It's not relevant.
Actually, it does make a lot of sense.
I asked you why it's not a scientific theory. You said it could take a while. I said, yeah, sometimes it can take a while, sometimes it can't. That doesn't answer the question for why it's not a theory yet.
There could be many reasons why. Some people don't want it to be upgraded. The people who are researching it, maybe they don't want it to become a theory yet. Maybe they want more validation before they actually try and go for it.
Well, that's all you have to say. Do you know?
If you don't know, it's funny.
It's okay. I'm not going
to
hang you.
I mean, go ahead.
If you don't know the answer, that's fine. I'm not going to hang you for it. If that's what you think is the case, I mean, that's fine. I mean, they want to work.
You haven't actually looked up any of this stuff, so I mean, it's just it seems kind of strange you're trying to chastise me when you know absolutely nothing about the topic.
I asked you a question. Are you? You're not retarded. You're not retarded. So when I ask you a question, why is this not a scientific theory? You're instead of answering the questions, you're questioning my motives. Like, what sense is that?
I didn't question your motive. I questioned if you understood how science works.
I just answered it. I didn't say if something's going to be elevated to a scientific theory, determine how long it takes will depend and will vary on the hypothesis because some things are easier to test than others.
Yeah, you did that after I correct you on how science actually works. After you realized, that was actually a stupid thing to say.
So did you answer my question for why that's not a scientific theory yet? No, you don't know.
That's fine.
So if you don't know, just say you don't know.
From what I've gathered, that there needs to be more evidence to support it before they move forward. Well, that's from what I understand.
Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and say I don't accept it yet until it's been elevated and I know more about it.
Okay, so that's fine. I mean, that's again, it's an argument from your personal incredulity. I'm not too surprised, but that's fine. I mean, you feel the kind of same way towards evolution at times, yet that's been a theory for I don't know how long. I find it funny you just pick and choose excuses as to why you actively choose not to believe things.
No, I like evolution. Evolution is cool. I don't like common descent. I think it's stupid.
You can't accept evolution without common descent. You don't accept part of that. That's not how that works.
I accept evolution as small changes in adaptation at the time.
Okay, well, if you have small changes, don't you think that those small changes eventually lead to something else majorly changing later on?
Nope.
Okay, well, then you don't understand evolution.
No, I believe in small changes in adaptation over time. That doesn't mean small changes didn't get you a fish to a horse.
That's not how it works. You're looking for Pokemon evolution. And this is exactly why I wanted to have the conversation. You don't understand how stuff works, Spoken. You really don't understand.
You apparently I have to baby step things for you. So you can't go from fish to this to this to this to this to eventually get the horse with evolution. Is that better?
That's not how it works.
Oh, so one species doesn't change to another species over a long period of time?
A species can speciate, but it's always going to stay within that clade. You're talking about two things that are in two completely separate clades.
A clade is something that's just believed to exist.
That's not the definition of a clade.
I gave you the definition of a clade a long time ago.
Okay, now reread it and compare it to what you just said.
A group of organisms believed to have evolved from a common ancestor.
Thank you.
Now
repeat what you just said earlier when you weren't reading the definition.
Human, and I came from something that's a fish. That's different, right? Is that
What do you
Pokemon
mean came
evolution?
from a fish? What fish?
A long time ago in the human history, throughout the common theory of common descent, humans before they were apes, before they were all that other stuff, were fish. We weren't humans
Are
then.
you
We
talking
were
about
fish.
from a monophyletic clade or a paraphyletic clade?
It can be whatever clade you want, man.
No, it can't just be whatever clade you want. If we're talking about cladograms and cladistics, then you need to be very specific into what you're asking.
Well, clades are something that's believed. I don't accept
I
clades.
mean, you can keep repeating
I don't
all
care.
you want, but I'll agree with it. That's fine. Are you referring to a polyphyletic, a monophyletic, or a paraphyletic clade?
I haven't burdened my head with that nonsense. I don't believe
Okay,
it.
well, so you haven't actually done the research enough in order to ask a question that's relevant to the topic.
Okay, the question was, did humans ever come, or were humans or any of humans' ancestors, direct ancestors, a fish?
It was not a fish, not the type of fish that you have today. No,
No, I mean a fish in the ocean, though.
it was an aquatic. We have a common
An
ancestor
aquatic
that
fish
was an
with fins
aquatic
and stuff?
creature at some point.
An aquatic fish with gills.
At some point, it had gills.
Okay, so so that's not Pokemon evolution, right?
No, that's actually not.
Okay, exactly, right. That's not what I was saying either earlier when I said fish to horse or fish to humans. If I have to baby step for this stuff for you, I can. But I mean, come on.
And that's fine. And that's why I asked you if you were talking about a paraphyletic or a monophyletic clade. What you were asking before was a paraphyletic. What we're talking about now is a monophyletic.
Okay.
So just in case, you might want to go look those terms up real quick, just to make sure that you're on track. Because what I described, an aquatic creature that had gills, is not the same thing as the fish that we have today.
I'm
You
just
can call it if you.
both
I mean, if I know you don't understand a lot about science, but at least
I said fish
enough
because
research
a
to
fish is
understand
a
your
term
questions.
that people use for things that swim in the ocean with gills.
That's not what we're talking about millions of years ago. When we're talking about Tiktaalik is not a fish.
They were swimming in the ocean, right? And with gills, with fins.
They could have had all kinds of stuff.
It
Some
looks
of them
like a
probably
fish.
did. They
looks
probably
like a
did have
fish.
gills.
I'm saying, man, if it looks like a fish, I'm gonna call it a fish.
You can call it whatever you want, but just understand that when we're talking
Oh, that's right. 'Cause
something in a
it's not a fish.
monophyletic clade, that's not the same thing as what you see today.
Right. It's not really a fish. It's really a future human.
I mean, you can, like I said, you can call it whatever you want to, but just as long as you understand what I'm talking about and what's represented in science.
Well, you're talking nonsense.
Well, do you know what a monophyletic clade is?
I know what a clade is. A
Do
clade
you know what a monophyletic clade is?
is something about belief, something you believe in.
Do you know what a monophyletic clade is?
That's something you should believe in, but otherwise, I don't know.
Okay, I didn't think so. So just say
Yeah,
no.
I know the
We can move
definition.
on to conversation. Exactly,
Give me the
exactly. And it's funny because Steve actually explained this to you earlier,
I
but
don't-
I know reading comprehension is kind of one of the things that you kind of have issues with, but
Listen,
I can give
guys
you a good definition.
You guys can have really complex beliefs all you want. I don't.
It's
care.
not complex at all. It's really not. If you have a grandmother,
no,
there's you.
beliefs
It's
can
literally
be
as hard as that goes.
Like you believe that your cousins are bananas and coconuts, and you believe that your distant grandfather is a fish. Well, excuse me, but you don't call it a fish. It's just something that's in the ocean with fins and gills, and that swims with gills and doesn't have.
Again, are you referring to the one that's in the monophyletic clade or the paraphyletic clade?
You would have to tell me. I don't know their definition.
Because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Well, but
Oh my goodness, this is too much fun.
About human ancestry?
This is too much. Here, let me give you a
Am I
definition.
wrong about the human ancestry?
Yeah, you are actually, because what you're talking about exists. What you were talking about right now exists in a paraphyletic clade.
For fish.
Say it again.
In our human ancestry and through common descent, none of our ancestors were what can be described as fish or beings in the oceans with no arms or legs, but instead they have fins and gills and they breathe water.
Some of the entities did exist. Some of the entities did exist in an aquatic environment.
So
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
So but what you're talking about, a fish, like a fish could be anything.
What am I wrong about? Do you just not like me using the word fish? Because that's a pretty small thing to nitpick.
Because it's a colloquial term that refers to animals that existed today. So my issue is that you don't know the exact, anatomical makeup of these entities, these creatures.
You're nitpicking the word fish.
That's fine, and I can because I'm being very specific with what I'm referring to, and that's why I even mentioned
everyone knows
Tiktaalik.
what a fish is.
I mean, okay, so if you want to call it a fish, we
I'm
can.
not saying it was a salmon.
I mean,
I'm
that's
not saying
fine.
it was a
If
tuna.
you want to call it a fish, that's fine. When
I'm
we're
not saying
talking
it was a
about
tuna.
art, so
I'm not saying it was a shark.
we can call it a fish. That's
I'm
fine.
not saying it
As
was
long
a
as
whale.
the takeaway here is that as long as you know that we're talking about a monophyletic clade, that's fine.
Okay, we're talking about a monophyletic clade.
When someone says they're related to a fish, they're referring to their place on a monophyletic clade. On a clade.
What about if they say they're related to bananas?
Then they're more than likely talking about a paraphyletic clade.
Okay. Are you related to bananas?
Probably am at some point. They're both multicellular organisms, so I imagine somewhere along the line, yeah, we have a common ancestor, according to cell theory, at least.
Well, that's funny to me.
I mean, maybe you need to go look some up. I mean, if you genuinely wanted to look this stuff up, you could. Let's be real. But we have evidence of all the stuff that we, quote unquote, believe to this day, like endosymbiotic theory. Like we know that some point in time we existed in a form that was unicellular, and that this unicellular entity interacted with an ancient bacterium, and that ancient bacterium to this day is still with us in the form of a mitochondria. So you can bunk, common ancestry all you want, but within your cells right now exists the evidence for it.
Okay.
You don't believe me? Look it up.
No, I really don't care.
That's fine. It's called just let the record show that I give you evidence and you said you didn't care. Here we go.
If that's what you guys believe to be the case, I'm totally cool with it, man.
So I mean, you can call it a belief all day long, but you even know what endosymbiotic theory is?
That's what a clade is. A clade is a belief.
Okay. Do you know what endosymbiotic theory is?
Nope, never heard of it.
Okay, cool. So let me educate you again. So it's funny because everywhere else in our cell, we have DNA, right? What makes us us. But what's really, really funny is that one of our organelles within the cell has its own DNA. Now, don't you find that a little bit strange? Why, when we are what we are because of our cells, would there exist something within it that had its own DNA? This thing can only be passed by the mother. It's even more strange. This thing has its own ribosomes. It was its own entity. It resembles microbes that we have to this day. We have evidence that at some point in our genetic legacy from millions of years ago, this thing consumed this other thing, and it still persists to this day. There's literally no other explanation for why your mitochondria has its own DNA and ribosomes. Literally none.
Or a designer put it there.
Why would a designer put an independent organism inside of another one?
You would have to ask the designer.
Because the designer doesn't exist, so that might pose a problem.
I said you would have to ask the designer. That's
well, you know what? He's too busy, making panda songs. So that's kind of going to be an issue there. So again, you have to make these assumptions in order to combat actual science.
With what I just said there? Do you disagree with what I just said there?
I disagree. I wholeheartedly disagree.
If a creator added something to his creation and you want to question why it's there, like if you go to if you ever go to an art museum, you can look at a painting and be like, wait, why is this painting has a bunch of different colors, but there's a black dot in the lower right-hand corner of that picture. You can speculate as for why that black dot is there. You can theorize. You can even have a good theory with you and your friends, and it can seem really good, right? But until you ask that artist, you can't know for sure.
Well, you know what's cool is that we can actually have access to that artist. That's the real cool part about that.
God.
So you have a direct line to your deity to ask him why, for some strange reason, he decided to have another microbe enter our ancient microbic ancestor and somehow form this symbiotic relationship that still persists to this day.
I've never asked God that question. It's never came up.
Well, tell you what, when you come up with a really cool hotline to God to ask him about all these tough scientific questions, you let me know.
If you're asking for how to get in communication with God, it's called prayer.
Oh, cool. So you can do this prayer thing, can't you?
Yeah.
Cool. So why don't you do that and you find an alternate hypothesis, a competing hypothesis that can beat out endosymbiotic theory? I want
Well,
to
God
see.
put it there.
God put it there. That's simple.
That is simple. It's really that simple.
It
If
is
God
really
put
that
it there,
simple. I mean, I understand simple
creation,
answers for simple people. I got that. But
if
in the
God put
realm
it
of
there, then
science,
He
it
put
needs
it
to,
there. If
and
God
that's
put it
fine.
there, then He put it there, right?
That's I know it's simple, right? It's
I
cool.
mean, it's really
So
simple.
it is
If
really
God
simple.
exists
I
and He
mean,
put it
simple
there,
people need simple answers. So
if God
in the realm
exists
of
and He
science,
put
where
it
the big
there,
kids
then
play,
it logically
where
follows
you
that
can
it will be
actually,
there.
validate things, you kind of need that to be, I don't know, what's that
Wait, do
word?
you know of a way to talk to God and get this answer yourself?
It needs to be validated. Oh man, what is that? Oh man,
Wait,
it's
if
almost
you need it
like
to
you
be
have to
validated
test these things.
at Dragnot, if you need it to be validated for you to believe it, that's fine.
No, I don't. I need it to be proven. From
Okay, if you need it to
from
be proven
your
without a shadow of a doubt,
perspective.
that's fine.
No, I need evidence. I need some type of test that you can perform in order to validate what you're
Well, how do
saying.
you? Okay, then how do you propose to get evidence from God?
I don't know. This is your hypothesis.
Well, I already gave you an answer.
You
Prayer.
gave me an answer,
Now
but
here's
that
the
does
thing.
not provide evidence to support
Well,
your
here's the thing.
claim.
If you pray to God and He doesn't give you the answer, that's kind of tough luck.
Okay, so here's how it works in science, because I know you don't know shit about it. When you have a hypothesis, you actually have to have some empirical evidence to support it, and it needs to be testable, and it needs to be refutable. At
Did
some
I
point in
offer God
time,
as a
someone else needs to
scientific?
be able to come out there and attempt to refute what you've done.
Now, Dragnot, let's not be stupid here. Did I give my position as a means of a scientific argument?
If you didn't, I'm not sure why you even
It's
posing it. I
philosophical.
mean, that doesn't
You know
make
what
sense. While we're
philosophical means?
talking about science and you're talking about magic,
No, it's called philosophy.
it's called philosophy. He goes philosophy. Oh my god. Okay, so I'll tell you what, we're talking about science here. You could.
Oh, he's laughing because he's stupid.
Okay.
Oh, I was talking to my girlfriend. I don't know if I was muted there.
Okay. So we're talking about, you know the difference between methodological naturalism and philosophical naturalism, right?
Yeah, science
know,
science presupposes philosophical naturalism, and it operates on that assumption.
okay.
I'm right about that, right?
We
But
presuppose
God exists outside of this physical
methodological
universe.
naturalism.
But Dragnot, God exists outside
Methodological
of this
naturalism.
physical universe. So how is science gonna have access to that?
Okay, here's the issue. Science operates within the realms of methodological naturalism. Naturalism
It operates on
has
that
to be
assumption. Yes,
presupposed.
it has to.
It has to be presupposed in order for it to work. So the issue with that, the reason why it's like that, is because you can't test supernatural mumbo jumbo magic.
Exactly. But if
So,
something is out there that exists outside of this physical universe, science can't have access to it, can it?
and that's fine. That's
So,
fine.
so, so because science doesn't have access to it, it therefore doesn't exist.
I didn't say that. Now,
That's
did I?
idiot logic. Well, then what
I
do you?
didn't say that. Well,
Then
if
what
you
do you
let me
offer?
finish, I would say, hey, you know what? Maybe there's a new branch of, metaphysical science that can arise that has its own means of displaying supernatural events in a manner that is somehow comparable to methodological naturalism, so that you're not simply relying on people's personal anecdotes, because we know people lie.
Yes, people
Possibly.
do lie. That's true.
So maybe that can arise. I haven't ruled that out at all.
Okay, so then what are you laughing about earlier? Is it a silly proposition that a supernatural being or something that exists outside of our physical realm could have tampered with this one?
It is, because you would have to have natural instances of this happening. It would
No,
be
you
evident
don't.
because,
It could
yes,
have happened in the past.
if it happened in the past, there would be some evidence for it.
There might not be if this being is able to cover its tracks.
Why would this being? Oh, that's getting to another topic.
If you ask why, you're asking prerogative. You can't know the prerogative of something unless you ask it personally.
Okay, and so you
This is
asking
common
it
sense stuff, man.
personally means what ultimately to other people outside your mind?
Well, you don't have to believe it. I'm not telling you to believe it. I'm just saying, in terms of logical possibilities, it's not a logical impossibility.
Okay, well, there could be fairies.
I'm not offering this up as a scientific evidence, as a scientific argument, because science operates on the assumption of mythological naturalism. You can't. So
Okay, there could be fairies also residing in my asshole right now.
Don't be retarded in your assumptions.
Okay, so we're going to assume that fairies also live in my asshole while we're having this conversation. That we're just going to put a pin in that, since we're talking about all the
If that's what you
possibilities.
believe, that's fine. You can believe whatever you want, man.
I know it's cool, huh? Just make stuff up whenever you don't know something. But here in the realm of science, we actually have to have some type of evidence to back up what we say, not just mumbo jumbo, not just fucking dribble whenever things get tough. So
Yeah.
that's why I actually
It's
like
all about
working within the realms of science. I'm not too afraid to say that, you know what, this is constraining. This holds me to some degree of integrity. I just can't make up shit. I have to show my work.
What's your
That's what
point?
I love. My point is that
you have a point here.
your scientific illiteracy is so hilarious to me that 15 other people watching right now are enjoying you flounder around and make up shit in this conversation. You honestly know next to fucking nothing about this topic, and I find it hilarious. But you try.
Is
That's
that
what
all?
I like about you. You try. You try to remain relevant. You try your best to offer these arguments from incredulity, and I love it. I love you for it.
Okay, so what scientific things have I gotten wrong so far?
Scientific method.
What did I say? What did I give a definition for the scientific method?
You gave an example of someone trying to prove a hypothesis, and I had to stop you right there because that's not how that works.
When did I do that?
Prove that. I mean,
do
you remember me saying that?
Method. The scientific method is a method of procedures. Matter of fact, I'll read it off to you because I've had to.
There you go. You're learning. Good job.
I had to deal with this with Steve a long time ago.
And it's amazing. You still
actually no. Steve actually agreed with my definition of scientific method because it's a straight up definition of scientific method. Now, I think what you're confusing is scientific method and the peer review process. Now, here's the thing. This is what a scientific method is. Procedure. A method of procedures consisting in systematic observation, measurement, and experiment, and the formulation, testing, and modification of hypotheses. Is that true?
That is true. Did you see? Okay, hold on for a second. Was there anywhere that it said prove hypothesis? Was there anywhere?
Anything different than
that? Hold on. Was there anywhere in there that it said prove hypothesis?
I said testing. It says testing in the modification.
Testing hypothesis. Did it say prove hypothesis?
Is this guy
yes, it's a yes or it's a real easy yes or no question.
I just read it to you. Did you hear the word?
Okay, so I want to drill this home because you seem to have a hard time understanding. Did it or did it not say prove hypothesis? Yes or no?
I did not read the word prove.
Thank you. So now that you actually understand what it is, now
I've never actually stated that you have to prove.
You actually did say prove hypothesis the first time, and I
said in terms of scientific proof, which is provisional. Don't be an idiot, man.
A scientific proof is not the same thing as proving hypothesis. There's a huge difference there.
A scientific fact. If you don't like me saying scientific proof, I will call back what I said, and I will say a scientific fact. Is that better?
Go ahead and continue, Spoken. This just basically reading is a hard thing for you, I know.
Right? And you're not confusing. Let's just be clear. You're not confusing the scientific method with the peer review process.
When did I mention peer review in any way, shape, or form?
Well, you didn't. So what you're saying when scientists are testing this over and over again, and you're saying different scientists are doing it, then you're referring to the peer review process.
No, that's not. That's right? Hold on. That's not how peer. No one goes and redoes your test. That's not how peer review works. Where did you get that idea?
Peer review is they test a hypothesis.
How do they test the hypothesis? Do they put on lab coats and go redo everything you just did for the last 4 years?
It depends on the hypothesis. That's obvious.
No, it does not. Please stop. Hold on. Stop right there. What experiment was put through the peer review process where the peer review board themselves went and redid the entire experiment?
Oh, I'm not saying that happened.
Oh, you fucking kid. Then who's doing the testing then for the peer review?
The hypothesis is tested.
The hypothesis is tested. Okay, so why are we even mentioning peer review process?
I was just making sure we had a clear distinction between the two.
Spoken, I didn't mention peer review at any point in time.
I know you didn't. That's why.
So why are you even bringing it up?
I brought it up because you were saying when a bunch of scientists because that's through the peer review process.
No, I didn't say anything about peer review at all anytime in this conversation.
That's how we have a scientific consensus.
I did not say anything at any point in time in this.
No, I'm bringing this stuff up.
Okay, you're bringing it up. Okay, so you're confusing someone testing their own hypothesis with it being put through peer review.
No, that's not what's happening.
Okay, so why are you bringing peer review into it?
Never mind. The point is lost now.
I mean, it is, because at first you said I brought it up, and then I
I
corrected
didn't say
you.
you
Then you
brought
got
it up. I
confused
said
as
I
to
brought it up multiple
where it even
times.
came from.
I said that I brought up the peer review process multiple times.
Okay, go for it. Finish your point. I
No, the point
apologize.
is lost now. It's completely gone.
I know. It's been lost, but that's fine. That's why we're here. That's why we're learning. That's the whole point of this hangout. This is education. This is a good exercise.
Beliefs are very interesting.
You can call them whatever you want. You can call them pussy willows for all I care.
Well, they're your assumptions and your beliefs.
I mean, okay.
I mean, your beliefs are interesting, man.
That's fine. I thank you. I have lots of evidence to support them.
You mean a lot of assumptions?
No. Again, do you want me to tell you what endosymbiotic theory is and show you the actual ribosomes?
I am not even gonna go down that path.
Oh, so you don't want me to validate what you just said was my
When
assumption?
I said
Okay.
assumptions, I'm not even gonna go down that path because you want to talk about science.
But you literally throw out shit like that, and then you
Well,
forget
here's the
that I
thing.
can
You
actually
wanna
back
talk
up
about-
what
I
I
have to
say,
remember-
and then you get upset. Like, I
have
like
to remember
this.
that you want to talk about science and you don't want to talk about philosophy.
We're talking. This whole hangout was started about science. I mean, if you want to
I-
shift it to philosophy
yeah, I
because
know,
you
that's
feel
what-
better,
I have
we
to
can.
remember that you don't like talking about philosophy, probably because you don't.
That's really funny, because one of the theists here, our good friend Maximus, actually corrected a syllogism I made earlier on Facebook, not even 2 days ago. That's funny for someone who doesn't like philosophy, that would take their own time to learn what a syllogism is and how to form it.
Okay, you're saying you want to talk about philosophy?
I mean, we can. You keep shifting anyway, so I mean, if
Well,
you
no,
feel comfortable in philosophy,
you said
let's
about
talk.
science, so I do want to talk about science. I think.
Oh, so now you want to talk about science? Okay, whichever
Yeah,
one.
like I said, I'm not even going to go down that whole assumption route.
Yeah, I know.
The properly basic beliefs and whatnot. It's just the same thing all the time. So it's
Yeah. Well, did I say I was a foundationalist?
no, that's what I said. I said I didn't even want to go down that route.
Oh, okay. That's why you mentioned it, because you didn't want to go down that route. Okay.
Well, that's why I was like, I take it back.
Okay, that's fine.
We're talking about science. What was my other question? What was oh yeah, how did life originate on Earth?
We actually talked about that, the RNA world hypothesis.
Okay, so what's the theory here? If you can give like a brief summary, I'm a layman.
Wait, say it again.
If you could give a brief summary of the what is? I mean, I'm a layman, so describe it to me. I've never heard of it.
Okay, we at first thought that DNA was at the beginning of all life, because DNA is the basic structure of everything. It directs everything. But the issue is that with DNA, you kind of need RNA. Like that was the biggest hurdle in trying to come up with something to fit what we thought happened. Well, with the RNA world hypothesis, and I'll just read it from this website here. Discovery of ribozymes supported a hypothesis known as the RNA world hypothesis, that earlier forms of life may have relied solely on RNA to store genetic information and to catalyze chemical reactions. The hypothesis was proposed independently by Carl Woese, Francis Crick, and Leslie Orgel in 1960, decades before the discovery of ribozymes. Interesting. And soon after the double helical structure of DNA was determined. According to the RNA world hypothesis, life later evolved to use DNA and proteins due to RNA's relative instability and poor catalytic properties, and gradually ribozymes became increasingly phased out. So we know to this day that there are, I can't even call them organisms, there are pseudo-life viruses that are based on solely RNA. So it is entirely possible that RNA jump-started all life and was the precursor to DNA.
That is actually very interesting. I actually want to look into that. That's
it's very, very interesting. It's funny that the people who first described the double helical structure of DNA were the ones that proposed it. It's a little bit of irony there.
No, I think that's also very interesting, and it shows they really knew what they were talking about.
Well, they made a prediction, and later that prediction came true. That is the glory of having scientific evidence.
Word up. Yeah, I want to see. I'm probably gonna look into this RNA. Well, I have it. RNA world hypothesis. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. You know, do I accept this to be true? I mean, hey, it's a good guess.
I
But I
mean,
do
you don't have to.
it.
I mean, you can propose, anything. You can propose just primordial soup and lightning. But this one actually has a lot of potential since it's funny because we're being plagued by pseudo life as it is in the form of double-stranded RNA. So there's a lot of evidence to support the RNA world hypothesis just to this day.
Well, hey, that's cool. I mean, like I said, I like like what you read. I think it's very interesting. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be looking into it. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and as far as an example, you could look into lentiviruses. Lentiviruses are typically double-stranded RNA, and they have their own sets of enzymes that will help catalyze different types of interactions within the cell. They can actually hijack the machinery of the cell and make parts of themselves, the copies of different parts, and then those parts will then converge and then burst out of the cell, and all very interesting. But it's amazing that this entity that's not even technically life can do that simply using RNA. Very, very interesting, to me at least.
Now, with RNA, I'm very curious because DNA appears to be very structured and very it seems to follow a definite patterns and whatnot. RNA, I'm assuming, does the same, right?
It's similar. It has uracil instead of thymine.
All right, so this is actually pretty genuine here. In terms of the structure, how would the structure? Because I mean, it's very small, so it's not like something you can just put it together. How does the structure just form in a way that it can actually produce animate, animate life or animate being? You know what I mean? How could that originate? I have a hard time wrapping my mind around how a chaotic world where all this stuff is happening, and during all this time and all this chaos and all this destruction. Just RNA forms, just randomly forms perfectly, and just just like a snowball, just catches. You know what I mean?
I think there's a few assumptions in there that are a bit unfounded. Well, assuming that the entire world itself was just simply chaotic, there's evidence that there is life and pseudo life living underneath the ocean, and actually underneath the ocean floor. Many of the methanogens that live just at the very bottom can survive in a lot of these, environments that would simulate, Pangea, ancient Earth. So it's not that implausible at all that even back then there were still, hardy enough entities to exist. But to a greater point, it's kind of like asking why oxygen and fluorine are so electronegative. It simply is. It's simply because of its atomic structure that it's going to attract certain molecules and certain other anions and cations, as True likes to say. So we can know that from what we've discovered about just basic chemicals, they are going to attract one another, given that they have the opportunity to interact with one another. And given that, hell, Earth being pelted with space debris for thousands of millions of years, they've had the opportunity to interact with quite a lot.
Well, what did the Earth experience, and what came to the Earth and pelted the Earth that didn't pelt other planets?
Oh no, the other planets were pelted with a lot of the same material. A lot of trying to think.
There doesn't appear to be life anywhere else.
Well, that's a few reasons. We live in a Goldilocks zone, and there aren't too many planets that live within Goldilocks zones. That's one issue. It seems as though life is abundant where there is liquid water, and so at some point in time, I can almost guarantee. Well, there's a not Fermi paradox, but it's another hypothesis out there that it's a mathematical proof that life does exist based on where we find life and some of the other variables of planets being in the Goldilocks zone. When I think of the name of it, I'll tell you. But the issue is that life could have existed. It's that we came along so far in the game that all the other life had died. Because we have to remember that living in the Goldilocks zone, we also have greenhouse gases that protects us from UV radiation and some of the X-ray and the gamma rays that are coming from our sun. So it's crazy how this stuff works out, but we just so happen to have an environment that was conducive for life to happen.
We're extremely lucky.
Not necessarily. We've been through quite a few extinctions, so we aren't as lucky as we'd like to think we are. And we're
Well,
actually going through another one right now.
we're considering everywhere else we look out in the galaxy, there's no life. Where everywhere else we look out, in terms of just general what we can see and what we can observe, there's no life anywhere but here, and over here it's like pretty abundant. And not only that, you know, the biggest problem us humans we have to deal with is killing ourselves at this point. It's not too much just like, you know, and we have sicknesses and diseases, but we're doing good at stopping most of those. You know, we just happen to be like extremely lucky and in a zone where we can, like, you know, as a species, you know, as a human race, we can thrive. And like, you know, I would almost say this world is, you know, like right now I'm in a house built by other humans. I think it's pretty unrealistic that this could happen just by random chance.
I mean, you can call it random chance, you can call it fate, you can call it divine intervention.
Guided processes.
I mean, guided processes, that's fine, but we are in a state of chaos at any given time. I mean, we live at the top of the food chain now. We are the top apex predators of apex predators, yet we aren't as advanced as we like to think. There are microbes that are way more advanced than we are, and right now we can culture microbes to outwit some of our best medical interventions. So while we may think that we're very lucky, we're also very unlucky because of our advancements, because of how far we've strayed off the path of evolution. We've made ourselves susceptible. So, I mean,
how could we possibly stray off the path of evolution?
Well, we don't kill off our weakened and injured. we being an apex predator, we don't have the worry about predation. We don't have to worry about our weakened, our crippled, and you know, to disease, because we take care of everyone. And so with that comes the drawback of breeding certain recessive alleles. And so when those recessive alleles add up, you get individuals who can't stand up to many of these organisms that are rapidly evolving. So,
yep. But science can generally deal away with that.
No,
time.
Like, no, we can't.
Like, why not? We can do implants.
You can do implants all day, but doing I mean, you can implant, give someone a new liver all day long, but if they have a microbic infection of some type, whether it be eukaryotic or prokaryotic or whatever, a new liver isn't going to fix that.
Oh, well, okay. I guess, okay. In the sense that, yeah, we can't fix it in terms of like humans that may be alive today. Like if you got it, you're kind of stuck with it. But like in terms of like in the future, we can do away with that. Like we can genetically breed babies pretty much right now, can't we?
We could technically, but there's issues with that. We have to worry about tumorigenicity when we start dealing with more and more with trying to mess with our own genome and trying to augment our genome. And so that's even with the new advances in stem cell technology. Tumorigenicity is a big issue because you don't want to give someone a new liver and then also give them liver cancer. So, you know, while we are making strides, we're also actively, you know, killing ourselves in a sense.
Well, okay, like, well, let's talk about in the sense of like, all right, like let's just say everyone that we have today, we're just screwed. But we're gonna breed a new form of humans, pretty much test tube babies that will be disease free, and then we can have these humans. You know, we can use our DNA, of course, to make these clones or these test tube babies. But these will be our children, and they will be like free of all of these diseases and ailments. You know what I mean? To at least that plague us to this day. And you know, new ones arise, we'll have to deal with them then. But would you be for that?
I honestly would not be. When you start getting into designer babies, that crosses a threshold that we humans right now, and probably within the next few generations, won't be able to handle, because you have to sit here and decide, well, what are the alleles that we want to keep and what are the ones we want to throw away? And typically nature has been the one to sort that out through various means. And like I said before, since we've effectively removed ourselves from natural evolution, we are kind of stuck with evolving upon our own devices. So when you say, well, we want all the humans to be melanated, because being melanated to some degree gives you protection from the sun. Well, there's also a drawback there. You also have a hard time absorbing vitamin C from the sun. So, how do you decide
Uh,
which alleles are better?
I guess I hear you. I don't put it past people to experiment and try anyway, but I see what you're saying. Well, yeah.
Okay, I meant vitamin D, not vitamin C. Did I say vitamin C?
What's up?
I don't know if I said vitamin C or D. I meant vitamin D from the sun, delta.
I think you said vitamin C, but
Yeah, it's for those of us who are deeply melanated, we have a lesser ability to absorb that because the pigment actually blocks out the sun ray. So that is an issue. But we can get around that and supplement our diets with vitamin D. But the sun is a very natural source of that, and sunlight does have other helpful advantages. So how do you make a list of the most ideal alleles to have, and how do you it would have to go by region. So if you live in more temperate climates, would you really want to be more melanated? And so having something like that readily available to parents, I think would be a little bit irresponsible, even if we can do it.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, then I just have a very interesting question. Then, like, what do you view, or what do you think, if you could, put a guess on it, what do you think is next for human evolution?
Next thing for human evolution is that we will indeed try to augment in some way, shape, or form ourselves. We will try to find ways to, make our bones probably denser, but it won't really start with that goal. It'll start with, well, let's try and cure autism. Let's try and cure brittle bone disease. Let's try and cure some of these severely debilitating disorders. And then, oh, look, once we apply this intervention, the people who don't have that disorder, they are the next breed of human. And so there's been, I'm pretty sure you've seen plenty of anime movies about whether crossing that threshold would be kind of a hallmark of us losing our humanity and becoming something else.
Wow, man. Yeah, I have seen those animes. Wow. I actually got to say, I actually love this conversation. I kind of don't hate you now.
I know. That's why do you think I wanted the one-on-one?
That's a good conversation. And actually, well, man, yeah, you're a cool guy. Yeah, I gotta go. My girls kind of wanted me to. Yeah, I've been in hangouts like all day, but man, yeah, we should have another one-on-one if you're ever down.
That's fine. I'll make some time. Probably not this week. Maybe in Steve's hangout, where we can bury some hatches and actually get to talking about certain topics. Because transhumanism is a topic, and you'd be surprised how many atheist heathens don't like the idea of us meddling with our own genetics, just because of the potential and because of the direction it will probably ultimately go in.
But yeah, yeah. Transhumanism, yeah, that's something I've looked into. It's very interesting. I of course think it's a bad idea, but it's very interesting that a lot of atheists think that too. So, yeah, man, I'm gonna go ahead and get off. Like, you go ahead and do your intro, your outro, and hey, man, good talking to you, yo.
All right, see you later.
Peace, yo.
Yeah, ponage, ponage. You saw that? Yeah. Anyway, folks, no, this is the kind of conversation I like to have. The heat at first, a little bit of back and forth. Now that the conversation actually happened, it was fruitful, and it is actually one of the topics that I rarely get to talk about. We actually have babies that have genes to glow in the dark. They reside in places that rhyme with kinda. So when you have the potential to do something, it's that the question, should you actually do it? And I think that's one, whether you're a theist or an atheist, I think there's a common thread among any group that you really have to dig at what's going to happen. What are the consequences for these actions? Because sure, we have the ability, and I've seen pictures of these things. They're trees. They are trees that have the pGlow gene. For those of you who don't know what the pGlow gene is, that's the gene that allows jellyfish to glow in the dark. This there, yes, is called pGlow. I'm not sure. The P is from the genus of the jellyfish, and glow, of course, GLO. You know it. Okay, yeah, jellyfish glow gene. Anyway, there are trees that can glow in the dark. That's cool, right? Save money on lamps. It's natural. You know, what's not to like? Well, you can turn off lamps. Like, what if you had a tree glowing like a lightsaber outside your window, and you can't turn off pGlow gene? Well, you can, but you probably have to burn a tree. So how do we go about doing something like that? How do we go about augmenting our lives continuously? Because we've had technology. This is biotechnology. It's what we've been doing. We've been working with our genetically modified organisms, and we've tried to use that to help increase our yields. Those humongous strawberries you see at Walmart, I know you've seen them. Everyone's seen them, and you sit there and you're like, why is this so big? It's actually 3 strawberries in one. That's why. Because when the gametes form for this particular plant, you can pause it. You can pause its development as it starts to split into 3 separate entities, and so it grows as one. Like we have conjoined twins. There you go, conjoined strawberries. So where do we draw the line? Where can we say, you know what, enough's enough? Is there a line? I think that these are really good questions, because we get to get to the bottom of our goals, dreams, and aspirations, and how we handle an ever-evolving world. And being a part of the decision of whether to evolve and in what direction, I think is very important, because we are coming upon something that microbiologists like to call the post-biotic age. And that is when our antibiotics will stop working. And I heard a few years ago, as I was sitting in class learning this stuff, that we were upon it. But now recently, now that I've taken micro and I'm being taught by people with master's PhDs in microbiology, they say that we're in the postbiotic world. So that is an actual scary thought. And that's kind of one of the reasons I brought up these cases, because I did want to have a good conversation with Spoken. And I wanted to bring up some of these things because it is something that we do need to be talking about. Whether people believe in evolution or not is irrelevant, because you have these organisms that are changing, whether you want to call it evolution, whether you want to call it Pokemon evolution, digivolving, whatever, it's happening. There was a case recently just up the street from me in Philly, and this lady had a urinary tract infection. Not uncommon. Women with vaginas have urinary tract infections. Very, very common. She had a strain that was resistant to everything, and they pulled out the big guns. And from what I understood, there was one last ditch effort that they made, and I forgot what the drug was, but I want to say it was a synthetic. It was a synthetic beta-lactam medication. I think, and someone feel free to correct me, but I want to say it was some type of synthetic beta-lactam that they used, and that finally got it. But this woman was writhing in pain for days because none of it was working. And what's interesting is that these organisms, they can make enzymes. And these enzymes are crazy because what they do is simple. They break the beta-lactam ring in the medication. They effectively release little proteins, and these proteins come in contact with the medication. And so they go and they make a little incision in the ring structure on the atomic level of this medication. Once that beta-lactam ring is broken in the medication, it is no longer effective. You have essentially neutralized that medication. And it's just one incision that needs to make it needs to break apart one chemical bond, and that ring is done. And that is all this enzyme does. And it's crazy. It's called beta-lactamase. Go look it up. Beta-lactamase. That is all it does. And so that is a scary thought, that these tiny microscopic things can get in us from wherever. Hell, a cough, you putting your hand on the doorknob, scratching your face, anything, you French kissing your friend's bum, they can find their way inside you. And then once they're in there, you are a perfect incubator. You and I have the type of environment that they thrive in. And so this is the fear that a lot of us have who are in science, who are wet lab scientists, because this is going to be the next big thing to plague humans. We're going to have to shift our focus away from cancer, away from ALS. And unfortunately, and even though some of us have family that's suffering from these disorders, and focus on the current crisis, which is microbes becoming increasingly more virulent. And that virulence will be in the form of having protections and having defenses against our interventions. Us humans as the apex predators of all apex predators. We can build nuclear arms and sail across the oceans, but this thing can fart out a particle and destroy $100,000 worth of research in 5 minutes. So when I have these conversations, I don't place humans at the top of the food chain, because technically these microbes have us by the balls. We have to keep remaking flu vaccines every year because they keep evolving so fast. And one of the fears that some microbiologists have, that I've spoken to, is that you have people not vaccinating their kids, and so you have to test stupid fucking meme out. Well, if you don't vaccinate, if what do you have to worry about? If your kid is vaccinated, mine's not. Well, you become a carrier, and when you become a carrier, you allow the virus to mutate. When it mutates, its epitopes also change. Epitopes are what your immune system uses to recognize these potential threats. So if the epitopes change because you're an idiot parent, and the vaccines that we given our kids are responding to, I'm just gonna make something up, AR-15, that's maybe I want to change that, RA-15 epitope, and it changes, so now it's being designated RA-16. Well, guess what? Now you effectively neutralized this vaccine, and you've allowed it to mutate, and now you've allowed measles, mumps, rubella, whatever, to continue to affect the population because you're stupid. That's one of the fears. That's it. Immunology, it's very fucking complicated. I got to touch a week or two of it, and it just blew my fucking mind how complicated our immune system is. Just to recognize a threat is ridiculous, but it's also very marvelous. And I also, I don't begrudge folks who have religious faith and they see these patterns of something like, how could this arrive just magically? Because some of this shit honestly is fucking crazy. And I'm going to I see y'all arguing with jargon. I'm going to kind of end on this, but there are subunits within our immune system that all they do, they're called perforins, and they perforate microbes. So what they do is once something gets recognized as an antigen, these little things, these little subunits will attach to the surface of the microbe, and they'll do it in a circle. So it's like a hole punch. They all form a circle. They allow a hole to be punched into the microbe, and then it spills its fucking guts out. That's nasty. That's crazy. But it, how does it know to do that? And there's chapters and chapters on how it knows to do that. But the fact of the matter is that is how it works for certain parts of our immune system, because other ones, like I think like natural killer cells, they just fucking eat it. They just say fuck it, we're gonna eat it. But yeah, it's crazy. So that's the kind of stuff that I like to talk about. That's the kind of stuff that we get into. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end the broadcast. Thanks for watching. Hopefully we can have more in-depth conversations about science and beliefs and, all kinds of stuff that's all kinds of fun. Good luck arguing with Jungle Jargon. Actually, you know what? Jungle Jargon, do you just want to come in the chat? Do you want me to just post a chat and you can come in and you can say object credit giver or whatever the hell your line is? I can just give you the link and we can hear you rant for 6 hours because that'll be fun. Object credit giver. Credit object giver. Object. Ooh, my mother's on Facebook. Hold on. I'm going to post a link. All right, if anybody wants to come in, come on in. I'm going to leave it hang out open for a little while. Jungle says he's switching devices. I am too, honestly. My iPad's dying. Okay, Jungle, you can come in anytime and tell me about object credit giving and how evolution's false and how you don't have any sources for anything and all this other cool shit that you always say. Because we know that you're brimming with information. At least Spoken likes anime. At least he likes anime. At least there's something admirable about him that he can have like intelligent conversation when he's not trolling. He can. He has the capability. I think that's the big difference. Just told me to eat a bullet. I should laugh at that, but that's funny. Nothing but a mind. Your mind. You're mindless. Nothing but bag of chemicals. You're just a mind. Your mind without a mind. What is my favorite anime? That's you know what? Okay, my wife says Cowboy Bebop for me, and I want to agree with her. Cowboy Bebop. I think Cowboy Bebop was probably the only anime that actually brought a tear to my eye. Like when I thought Spike died, but he didn't actually die. When I thought Spike died, I shed a tear as a teenager. I had grown fond of Spike Spiegel, and I was like, you know what? Why do they have to do my boy Spike like that? Why? It was sad. It was a sad moment for me. It was truly sad. He went through all that. The fight with Vicious, his blood brother, his blood. I can't fucking say it. His blood brother. His comrade in arms, and Spike was dirty for like fucking his girl, but that's that brought them. That's really Cowboy Bebop. Long story short, it's about a woman. There you go. No woman, no cry, and no lose your eye, because he did lose his eye. But I'm actually my favorite anime to rewatch with my wife is Sword Art Online. I think her favorite anime. Is that your favorite anime, dear? Or no. Hold on. Okay, yeah, no, her favorite is Full Metal Alchemist. Welcome, Jungle Jargon. How are you tonight?
Hello, how you doing? How's everybody doing? What's up?
So what have you to what have you brought us this night to grace us in the realm of scientific inquiry?
Well, basically, science is observing what's made, what we, everything we can see. We can't make up things that we can't see.
What do you mean by see?
Well, what we observe is that we have sea living organisms, and we see all the programmable matter that's programmed inside of us, and the obvious thing is that we were made to exist, and the universe was made to exist. That's the obvious things. And if you have another idea, you have to prove otherwise.
I'm not sure what you mean by program. What are you referring to?
Well, the elements, the atoms, are programmable matter that's programmed inside of us.
I'm not sure how you program an atom. How do you,
Well, you know what nanotechnology is, where you get, nanobots and stuff.
they can't manipulate atoms though.
No, but they're made to reprogram to reproduce, or they can be made to reproduce.
What?
Nanobots. You know nanobots, all right? Nanotechnology.
Yeah, I'm familiar with nanotechnology, but I'm not sure what you like. I'm not sure how that plays. Maybe I'm just lost. So okay, so the fact that we can manipulate technology, is that what you're referring to?
Well, we copy. Nanotechnology is basically copying what living organisms have already, or what they are.
There's
Basically
a big
copying
difference.
viruses and stuff like that.
Well, we have assays where we can catalog genetic materials of various viruses and use like plasmids and shit like that from bacterium to insert the DNA into other organisms. But that's like biotechnology stuff.
Right, but it's all The point is that it's programmed. It's all programmed. RNA is programming. DNA is programming.
I mean, if you want to say it's analogous to a computer program, I guess.
Well, no, we can actually program the things. We can actually program RNA and DNA.
What do you mean through genetic manipulation, like constructing RNA
Well,
sequences?
like in nanotechnology, make nanobots and stuff like that. We can actually program them to reproduce and perform a function of some kind.
I've never seen nanobots reproduce.
Well, that's the idea, is that they would reproduce inside of you and go and attack whatever thing you wanted to attack.
Okay, if they're metallic,
No, they're not. No, not metallic. What makes you think they're metallic?
You said nanobots.
Right. That doesn't mean they're metallic. They're
robots.
They're made up of information the same as we are. They're made up of atoms and chemicals the same as we are.
Okay, see,
and they utilize the same chemicals that we're made of.
Okay, you're saying that there's organic nanobots, like nano robots.
Well, it's all organic. Yeah, it has to be organic.
I've never heard of that in my life.
Well, that's what the fear is that they would just annihilate everybody.
Where are you getting this from?
Somebody. I know this 40 years ago when I left Brazil. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why you wouldn't know about it.
I want whatever you're smoking. I really do. Like,
Jungle Jordan, hey, I gotta interrupt here. God damn it, Dragnut, I love you. I really do. Jungle, what's your highest level of education?
I went to Bible school.
Well, there you have it. Fuck me running. There you go. Never mind. Okay.
Is that supposed to prove something? What's that supposed to prove?
What Bible school did you go to?
Moody.
Okay, cool.
In Chicago.
Yeah, awesome. Do you have so you have a degree from that Bible school?
No, I didn't finish.
No, but, you didn't even finish that.
No, I didn't finish that. No, yeah, I didn't have enough. I didn't have enough money at the time. So.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't want to beg and borrow.
So we should believe you. Why? You have no credentials whatsoever. You have no education, but we should believe
No,
you.
you have to address the issue. Could you?
No. I'm
issue?
addressing you. I don't care about the
No,
issue.
that's
I'm
ad
talking about
hominem.
you. No. See, I'm
That's
talking.
ad hominem. You have to address the subject matter.
I'm accepting the person that is talking about the subject matter. You have no credentials, no education.
It doesn't.
No nothing.
I'm irrelevant to the topic of discussion. I'm irrelevant to the fact.
Yes, you are irrelevant. Exactly.
I'm
You're stupid
irrelevant
like
to
I
the
am.
subject
You're a
matter.
dumb motherfucker like I am that thinks some kind of fucking knowledge. Well, you don't have a brain cell in your fucking head.
No, you have to
You're
prove
a dumb
it.
fucking
You have to
redneck
prove
like
it.
me that thinks that you have some kind of fucking knowledge.
But if
And
you
went to
don't
a
prove
fucking Bible school.
anything,
You don't even have a fucking certificate from a goddamn Bible school. You
if
dropped
you
out of a
don't
fucking
prove
Bible
anything,
school.
you can't tell me anything. You can't tell me anything. You don't prove anything.
You can't
there's
tell
nothing,
me anything.
There's nothing you can
dipshit.
tell me. Yeah, I can tell you that you were observed to be made to exist by a pre-existing written word. I can tell you that because that's observed.
And your
Observed.
background comes from?
That's irrelevant.
Wouldn't you like to go to a fucking wouldn't you like to go to a fucking doctor and say, doctor, I've got
It's
this pain in my
totally
head,
irrelevant.
and you ask the doctor, you say, hey doc, where did you go to fucking school from? Where did you go to school? Where's your PhD from? And the doctor looks at you and says, that's fucking irrelevant.
Hey, doctors can make
Oh
mistakes,
my
right?
fucking god!
With all their education, they can make mistakes, right?
You don't even have an
They
education
can
to make a
advise
mistake.
you.
You don't
they
even
can
have an
advise you.
education, asshole. Don't you understand this? You don't have a fucking
But I can know truth. I can know the truth.
Where did you get the truth from?
I'm just from being honest. You have to be honest
You
to
got the
observe the
truth from
truth.
being honest?
Yeah, you have to be honest. You have to look at things and see things for what they are.
What things?
Everything. Theology is about everything.
Blatant fucking what thing? Everything.
Theology is about everything. Theology covers
Okay, where did
everything.
you get your information from everything at?
By observing, by being honest.
So you taught yourself.
No, the Holy Spirit
who
teaches
taught you?
God teaches you. You think you learn anything all by yourself?
Oh God! Now you
can't
just
learn-
you just
you
said
can't
that you
learn
taught
deep things
yourself.
by
Now
yourself.
God teaches you. Well, how did God
Right.
teach you anything?
Right, because it's thousands of years of learning from God.
You've not been alive for
Theologians.
1,000 years.
It's thousands of years of theologians learning from God, and you learn from them.
Where did you learn from them? Name a book.
Well, you want a book? There's all
That's
kinds
what
of
I just
books.
fucking asked you.
There's all kinds of books.
All kinds of books.
Yes, there are all kinds
Bunch of books. You
for
can
all
do-
kinds of things. Jungle jargon.
The Bible alone has 66
Fucking
books,
hell.
and there's other books besides the Bible.
Then okay, you name the Bible. Name 3 more.
That's not the Bible. I said the Bible is 66
3 more books.
books.
Jungle jargon. 3 more.
Name
Bible
3
is
more.
66 books.
66 books.
66 books.
Name 3 of them. Name
Thank you.
3 of the 66.
Name 3 of the
books.
66 books. Well, inside or
Yes!
outside the Bible?
Oh my fucking God! This guy's Jesus fucking.
You have the book
Christ.
of Jasher,
This
you
is
have the
why I
book of
burned my
Enoch, you have
Bible
the
last
book
week.
of...
This fucking nutcase. Name 3 books out of the Bible that you've read. Name them 3 right now. Go ahead.
I've read all of them.
Yeah, we know that you've read them. So what the fuck are they?
Well, which ones you want? Genesis,
ones that
Exodus,
you
Leviticus,
fucking
Numbers,
read. This is
Deuteronomy,
like who's on
Joshua,
first? I don't
Judges,
know.
Ruth,
Third
1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and
No,
2nd
that's the
Kings, 1st
Bible.
and
I
2nd
said
Chronicles,
outside the
Ezra,
Bible,
Nehemiah.
asshole, you dumb fuck. What I said outside the Bible. Name 3.
I started to name them off outside the Bible: Enoch, Jasher, and the Epistle of Barnabas.
Ooh. And where'd you get those from?
I didn't get them; they exist.
They exist, but you didn't get them?
No, I didn't have anything to do with their creation.
I didn't ask you if you had created them. So
You
what
said 3 books outside the Bible. I named 3 of them: Jasher, Enoch, and the Epistle of Barnabas, or whatever it was.
And where did you get them from?
What do you mean? Where did I get them from? I didn't get them from. They exist.
How did you read them? Where were they?
I read
at?
them on the internet. I read them on the internet.
Oh, they were on the internet. Fucking hell. That's
Well,
great.
this is
What's
going
that
one
got to
time.
do with anything? Do you have a point to make, or are you just going
Everything
around
on the
in
internet
circles?
is true. Yeah, you got.
So you're going around in circles. You got a
what
point to
site-
make?
Yeah, what site on the internet did you get them from?
Well, it would depend. They're on a bunch of sites. You can
Don't
just
steal
type
the
it
site.
in. You know how to work Google? You know how to work
No,
Google?
no,
You type it in.
no. I'm asking you where
And
you
they come
got it
up.
from.
You type it into the address window.
You
and
don't
it just comes
even
up.
even know where you got your
You can-
information from.
Yeah, you can get it from all over the place. I mean,
I
there's
know you.
multiple.
Where did you get
There's
your
multiple
information?
references.
I
What's your
know
point?
there's multiple websites
You're-
on the internet.
you're not making
where
a
did you
point.
get your shit from?
You're
Where?
not making a point. What's your point?
The point is, where did you get your information from on the internet?
On the internet. What's your point?
On the internet.
What's your point? You don't have a point. You don't even know what you're talking about. I mean, you don't even know.
This
You don't even
sounds
know
like
where you're
school, man.
going.
This
You don't
is
even
fucking-
know where you're going with it. Where
Yeah,
you
I know
going?
where I'm going with it. What
Where are you
website did you get your information from? Name it.
What do you want? Bible Gateway? What do you want?
Oh, you gave one. Amazing. You're so good.
What do you want? Bible Hub?
Very good.
So two.
I mean, just type them in. You can get multiple.
No, I don't want
references.
I don't see.
So what's your point? What's your
The
point?
point is, when you say
You don't have
I've
a
read
point.
this on the internet, and I want you to
You
name
don't
your
have a point.
sources.
You don't care about sources. You don't care if the Book of Joshua exists. You don't care if the Book of Enoch exists. You don't care if there's other books that agree with what the Bible says. You don't care.
It doesn't matter if I care or not.
It doesn't care. You don't care. It doesn't matter.
So,
You're not making a point. You're not going anywhere. You don't have a point to make.
Prove to
You're
me
not
that the
proving
sources
anything
that
to
you
me.
went to on the internet is true.
You're not telling me anything. You can't prove anything to me. You're not
I
telling
got
anything.
him by the short
There's
hairs
nothing-
right now and just
there's
kept
nothing you
breaking
can
him
tell
out.
me.
This is fucking
There's nothing
great.
you can tell me.
Oh, there's no,
There's
what
nothing
can you tell me? What
Try
can
to
you
tell me something. Try
what
to
can
tell me
you-
something.
No, I want you to tell
Tell
me.
me something.
I'm a moron. You're the fucking intellectual
I already told
brain
you.
child
I
here.
already told you. You were made to exist by a pre-existing written word.
All right, so
It's observed.
I went to a website
observed.
yesterday that said giant ants are real. Does that make it true? It was on the web.
And you believe. Why would you believe something like that?
Why would you believe the sources that you read?
Because there's multiple sources. You can confirm
Oh,
something by
there's
multiple
so if I can
witnesses.
So if I can find 10 websites that says giant ants are real, would that make it
It
true?
doesn't mean they witnessed it.
Who
It
witnessed
doesn't
what?
mean they witnessed it.
Did you
I'm
witness
talking
anything?
about witnesses.
Did you witness anything that you read?
It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
There's multiple. You don't get the
Oh, it doesn't-
point.
it
You
doesn't
don't get
matter.
the point. You don't get the point. If you have multiple authors all saying the same thing, then you have multiple references.
Well, no, that doesn't make it true,
And-
right? Like,
And if you can prove otherwise, help yourself.
I don't
See
have to
if you-
prove shit.
See if you can
bring
prove
it up.
otherwise. Well,
I
you
don't
don't
have
want
to
to.
prove
You don't
shit.
want to prove anything because
I
you don't
don't
want to
have
know
to prove.
anything.
It's not me to prove anything. You're bringing this
You don't
shit
want to
up
know
prove
anything.
it.
You don't
What do
want
I
to
have to
know
prove?
anything.
I
You
don't
want
have
to know that you were made to exist by a pre-existing written word. You want to know that.
What?
What do I? What?
Do you want to know that you were made to exist by a pre-existing written word?
Okay, Jungle Jargon, I'm going to be charitable to you here. What is the claim that you're trying to make here? I really
I'm not
cannot-
making a claim. I'm not making any claims. I'm making observations. Don't misrepresent what I'm saying. It's misrepresenting me.
You're making observations?
I'm making an observation. They're all observations.
Okay. Now, what kind of observation are you trying to make?
I just told you the observation that you were made to exist by a pre-existing written word. That's the observation.
That doesn't make any sense. That sounds incoherent to me.
Well,
You
you're
need
not
to be
trying
more
to
specific.
understand. You're not trying to understand what I just said.
Oh my god!
You got to put some effort into it. You got to put in some effort into understanding what biology is.
Oh,
Coming
we're
from,
talking.
this is coming from a guy that failed a fucking Bible school study. Couldn't even. Never mind. It's just fucking
So-
nerds.
Talking about
So
biology.
what's your excuse for giving all the glory to mindless objects?
What?
You give all the glory and the credit to
What?
mindless objects. What's your excuse?
I have
You're
no
giving.
excuse.
You're giving
No,
all
no,
the
sir.
glory.
Again, the difference is
You're giving
I
all the glory.
understand that I'm a fucking moron. You don't.
You're giving,
You don't
you're
understand,
giving
you're a
all the
fucking
glory
idiot.
to mindless matter.
I'm giving all the glory to mindless matter?
Yes. Yes.
What is
you
this
are.
mindless matter you're speaking of?
The elements. Matter.
What
You know what
elements?
matter is? Elements. Atoms.
What elements? What ones?
Chemicals.
What
All of
chemicals?
them.
Which, be
There's
specific.
17. There's 17 essential elements inside of you.
So what?
17 of them. There's that many more that are beneficial to you.
Name 5.
Most of the most common elements are
What
either
script are you reading
essential,
from?
either essential or beneficial to your existence.
Okay, so what?
Silicon, right? Silicon. You live on a planet made of silicon, right?
I do? I don't know.
Okay, so you don't know carbon. You know that, right?
Yeah, silica. Silica is 90% of the Earth's.
Silicon, C-O-N, silicon, not silica. Silica is.
I know it's I said silica because that is the compounds. It's not just silicone by itself.
No, so the element is silicon.
Yeah, okay. The silica, the molecule, there's a combination of silicone and oxygen,
Right.
not just
Right.
elemental silicone. I'm just
Right, but the element, I'm talking about the elements. We're talking about element. He asked for 5 elements.
5 elements that we're comprised of, or
I told you there's 17 that are essential to your existence. 17 elements that you would die without having them.
without having
Immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a difference.
You would not exist.
I don't need silicone. Not like that. That's
Only you need silicon to live on top of.
on top
that's the
of.
earth.
Oh, okay. You said I need to live. I don't need to live.
No,
on
inside of you, silicon is not one of the ones that you need inside of you.
It's probably a trace element somewhere.
No, you need 17 other elements. Silicon is outside of you that you need.
I'll take your word for that, Jungle. I mean,
Well,
I'm pretty sure I need the molecules for any organic.
No, silicon is one of the few elements that you don't need inside of you.
That's fine. I'm willing to accept that. I just accept it as a trace molecule because it's in something. I can't remember what it is, but it is used. Silicon.
Well, it could be, but it might not be essential,
No, it's like I said trace.
But there's hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, phosphorus, all kind of stuff.
Sulfur. Keep going.
Sulfur, yeah.
Yep, all the stuff for lipids, carbohydrates, proteins.
Yeah, no, we're talking about elements, carbon and hydrogen.
Those are the 4 organic molecules that you're comprised of.
Right, but there's 17 elements that are essential to your existence for you.
But
you can't live without. Organisms can't live without them. 17, and there's an additional amount that are beneficial to living organisms.
Trace amounts. Yep, sure. I'm willing to accept that.
So basically, most of the most common elements are essential to your existence.
I wouldn't say essential. You can live without trace elements.
But most of the most common elements in quantity are essential to your existence.
Which are
hydrogen, oxygen, and go on down the line of the most common elements.
The most common on Earth?
Excluding the inert ones like neon and argon, all the
have their valence filled up and they can't do anything.
Right. Those don't interact, so they're not going to do anything good.
Yep. Sure. So you just need a little bit of uranium here and there, since they don't have their valence.
No, uranium. What do you need uranium for?
The piss.
Uranium falls apart, doesn't it?
Does it? Is it unstable?
It's unstable. I'm talking about we need more stable elements that are more common. The more common elements that are more stable.
So something, I don't know, like plutonium.
It's unstable, isn't it? And it's not common.
I don't know. I was thinking maybe something, I don't know, like cesium.
Helium doesn't mix. Helium is one that you don't need.
No, it says cesium.
Directly. You don't need it directly.
Helium. We don't need
Was that
cesium?
helium? Helium you don't need directly.
Oh, helium? I need it to talk funny.
Yeah, but you don't need it to live.
Oh, I beg to differ. I do need to talk funny.
You trying to be funny or what? Are you trying to have a serious discussion or what?
I mean, I thought we were just shooting the shit. I mean, so okay. How about this? Just
Well,
essentially.
no, that's okay. I'm just saying
I'm not busting your balls. I mean, I was naming radioactive elements purposely. I mean, you kind of caught on to that, but I would say, so in order for us to function, without a doubt, we need the elements for all four of the organic molecules.
well, organic molecules. There's 17 of them.
No, organic molecules, not elements.
Oh yeah, okay, sorry.
Yeah, that's the distinction I was trying to draw. But we
were talking about elements, though.
Okay, so what you said? There's 17. That's an odd number, but
Elements.
Not elements.
So there's 17 elements that are essential to life.
So we'll say that. Well, I don't know about 17. I disagree with that. They're probably 5 or 6. Hold on. I'd probably say 5. Yeah, conservative.
No, 17. I looked it up a couple of times. 17 elements that are essential to living organisms.
So, what are these particular elements? What are they used to build? Because the 5 that I'm talking about are just for the 4 organic molecules.
No, the elements are molecules. You're getting me mixed up.
I'm saying that the proteins that you would use to build the structure.
No, it's a protein.
No,
proteins are significantly sequenced.
I know, and they're comprised of elements, right?
They have to be significantly sequenced.
I'm not going to disagree. I'm not even sure what that means, but like there's only.
They have to be specifically sequenced. Proteins are specifically sequenced to perform a function that they're used for.
Sure, I will wholeheartedly agree with that. But they are comprised of certain elements, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, the proteins then need particular elements in order to be constructed, and I guess it also depends on which ones we're talking about, because there's 20 different amino acids that you're going to be using to construct the protein.
Right, 20 combinations to make a protein. Right.
So I'm not sure if silicone will be one of them, but
no,
I have to look that up.
No, silicon is not. That's one of the few that's not essential in the living organism.
I think materia is one though that a lot of folks need.
For one thing, silicon is kind of heavy. That wouldn't work very good.
Well, it's not necessarily its weight, but it tends not to break bonds as easy as carbon, and so you don't want something that could take the place of carbon but not break bonds as easy, because we actually do need carbon bonds to be broken. We need covalent bonds to be broken readily when we're trying to.
Yeah, that makes it programmable. That's what makes it programmable.
I have a hard time calling it programmable, because that implies some type of direction that I'm purposely.
Well, I mean, in order to be programmable, it has to be able to switch from one thing to another. Switch on and off and one thing to another.
I don't know how to switch my proteins on and off.
But you were talking about the bonds have to be readily unbroken and made broken.
Yeah, what I'm talking about is if you were trying to make a protein, you need a peptide bond. So you need 2 amino acids, or at least 2 amino acids, to undergo dehydration. And a chemical bond is broken, and another one is formed so that they can be bound to one another. Excuse me. And I can't control that process. It just kind of happens. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. What do you mean by
it happens as directed?
As directed.
Hold on a second. I got to turn this thing off. Hold on. I got to set the speakers. Okay, hold on a second. had this other thing going. All right.
Okay, so how we're talking about? Let's say if I wanted to bind two amino acids, two glycines. If I wanted to bind them, how would I program that?
Well, it's the DNA. It depends on what the DNA,
Okay.
orders make. And I'm not sure if the DNA is the only thing, the only active thing that is directing things. The zygote has something to do with. I mean,
What?
the cell. The properties of the cell have to do with how things are made too. It's not just the DNA. It's
Okay.
the structure. The structure of the cell itself is what has part in the function.
So what does a cell have to do with the glycine being bound to another glycine? How does that play a role?
Well, it provides a secure place where it can do that, for one thing.
I thought the ribosomes did that.
The what?
The ribosomes.
Yeah, but none of that would work if there wasn't a cell membrane for that to happen.
I don't know. Bacteria seem to be able to do that without being inside organelles and.
Yeah, but ideally inside of us, that's what needs to happen. But bacteria needs energy. If it can't make energy, it can't propagate.
Well, it depends on what they are. Some of them fermentate, and some of them actually, can produce ATP.
It
So
still needs energy. It still needs a form of energy to propagate.
some of them use, fart gas for energy. So yeah, it really depends on what we're talking about. I'm not even joking.
Well, some of them use like different elements deep in the earth, inside the earth, for energy.
Yeah, some of them do use like nitrogen. They're nitrogen fixation. That's what they help with nitrogen fixation. Farmers use them when they're trying to like restore the fucking, the what you call them in the chat.
Right, but if it can utilize something as energy, if it can use a form of energy, it can propagate it. It's not. It has a hard time.
I'm confused as to where we're going with this. I don't know what was something I was asking about how we direct glycine to be bound to another glycine. It got on the energy, and I have no clue how we got there.
Well, it has to. Everything in the cell is directed. That's the whole point.
Okay, well, it's programmed, it's directed. Okay, so who is the programmer? Who's the director?
Well, that's the question you have to ask, and you can't.
I would like to know.
You can rule out. You have to rule out some things like: is it the elements themselves that are programming it?
Probably.
No. How? Well, you'd have to show that. If you think it's the elements themselves that are doing the programming, you would have to show that.
Well, have you ever?
Because nobody ever observed elements programming making any directed working mechanism of any kind.
Why do you keep on using program like element programming themselves? I don't.
Well, because that's what living organism is a program.
Elements aren't living, though.
It doesn't matter. They're programmed. They're directed.
Okay, so that means that the rust that you see on people's cars was programmed.
No.
There. Yes.
No, that's a chemical reaction.
That is a chemical reaction.
It's not a programmed chemical reaction.
How? Okay, so how is that not a? What? Wait.
Chemical reactions are chemical reactions, and then there's programmed chemical reactions.
Oh, okay. So how
DNA is a programmed chemical reaction.
Okay, so DNA is a program one. So the fact
because it makes directed working mechanisms inside of you essential to your existence.
Okay, so a piece of metal going through oxidation, that's not.
That's a chemical reaction.
Yeah, and
not necessarily programmed.
Okay, there are elements and molecules within our body that get oxidated too.
Right, but that would be fall under programming because everything inside of you is programmed.
No, there's
Everything, every part of you is programmed.
no,
unless
there's
it's-
not.
Unless it's not working properly.
Unless it's not
But it-
working properly.
Could be a defective program or a
But
defective,
that means it's
an
programmed.
unintended function. But other than that, every single working thing inside of you is all programmed. Everything.
Did you not catch what he just fucked up?
You exist a programmed.
Everything is
element.
everything is programmed. But if something's wrong, that doesn't mean it was
Well,
programmed.
you can mess up. You can mess up programming.
Oh,
It's easy. It's easy to mess up programming. All you have to do is mix things up.
okay. What is programming these things?
What is programming? Well,
No,
I
what
would like to rule
what is
out.
programming these things? What is programming us?
That's what I'm saying. I would rule out elements themselves programming themselves.
Okay, what do you think is programming us?
So then it would have to be, if it's no natural thing, then it's a supernatural thing, right?
Okay, so we got into the crux of the matter.
Yep.
Right, exactly. So you would have to prove your belief in a natural cause if that's what you believe.
So are you saying God can fuck up a programming?
No, you can mess up the programming that he made.
Oh, it's our
That's-
fault.
That's what Adam and Eve did. They wanted to know what bad information would do.
Oh, I get
They
it.
found out what bad information does.
Hmm.
And we're finding out what bad information does.
So, but didn't God program Adam and Eve?
Yeah, initially, yeah. That's
So he fucked up.
No,
Yeah.
no.
How-
Adam
how-
and
how
Eve.
could he not have fucked up if he programmed
Adam and Eve
Adam and
wanted to know. They had free will. They wanted to know what bad information would do.
God programmed them, though.
No, he
Yes,
said
he did.
he
You
gave
just
them a
said
choice.
it.
He gave them a choice.
Yes, he gave them a choice. He programmed them. So
He gave them a
fucked up.
choice. And besides giving them a choice, he told them to go believe what is true and not to believe the lie.
Yes, he programmed them to do that.
And they chose to believe the lie.
He doesn't get this. This is so fucking amazing.
They
That he
wanted to
cannot
know
understand
what
this.
bad information would do. They found out what
Yes,
bad
and they
information
got
does.
they got that information from God that created them.
No, they got it from their own free will that they were
That
given.
God gave
Free
him.
will.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
But that's not
Now
God.
you
That's
get it.
not God doing it, though. That's men doing it. If
God gave
made
them free
you, if
will.
God gave you the autonomy to choose to do
Holy
something,
mother of fuck. God gave
that's
them
your
free will.
choice. That's your choice. No,
I
you
don't
can't
understand.
blame.
This is
You can't
unbelievable.
blame your maker for what you choose to do.
Then yes,
Your
I can.
choice.
If I make a computer and if
And
I fuck it
besides-
up, I can blame myself for it.
Yeah,
I
but
have
see,
nobody else
God-
to blame.
But see, God can pay for that. You can't.
What?
God can pay for your mistakes. You can't
I-
pay for your mistakes.
I really,
What the heck?
I really do not get your line of reasoning, Jungle Jar.
Wow.
Well, I mean, your maker can remake you. You can't remake yourself.
No, it's not about remaking. It's
You
about
can't-
who programmed
Well,
Adam and Eve. Who? Look,
Okay,
Uncle Jorgen, who programmed Adam and Eve? Who did that?
you were made once, right?
Who programmed Adam and Eve?
You were made once, right?
He's not going to
Answer
answer this
the
because I
question.
got him by the balls. Who programmed Adam and Eve?
Well, you got to understand. Were you made to
No.
exist?
See, it's very.
Don't start the issue. Just answer
Oh,
the fucking
fuck.
question.
Who programmed Adam and Eve?
We already talked about this.
Okay, well, let's talk about it again. Who programmed Adam and Eve?
That's something that was not natural.
That would be who?
No natural thing. A supernatural maker.
That
We have a
already talked.
supernatural maker.
You're
A
intentionally being vague.
supernatural maker.
Programmed Adam and Eve.
Right.
Okay, fine.
Why are you intentionally being vague, Jungle Jargon? Just say that it's God.
No, why are you trying deliberately not to understand anything?
No, he's
If
not
you're made to
deliberately
exist
understanding.
once-
We've got you by the short and fucking tongue.
No, I've already said you had a supernatural maker. Now, can you admit that you were made to exist?
Well, why
Can you-
does it
can
have
you
to be a
admit-
What does it have to do with it? Can I?
Because if you were made to exist once, you can be made to exist again, can't you?
Well, I don't know. 45 years ago, my father stuck his penis in my mother's vagina and
But you can be
ejaculated,
fixed, right?
and then bam, here I am. So I guess I was made to exist.
Every broken thing inside you can be fixed, right? That means you can be resurrected, right?
That is relevant to what?
What the fuck?
That's
is
relevant to
relevant.
Adam and Eve.
You were
That
made
God
once.
programmed to fuck up.
If you were made once, you can be remade again.
No. This is not about me. This is about Adam and Eve and
You
God.
can be
programming
remade
them.
again.
This is
You are Adam. You are Adam.
No, I'm not
You were
Adam.
made
I'm
once.
Jeff, dumbass.
You
I'm
were
not Adam.
made once. You can be
No,
remade
sorry.
again. You
Fuck
can be
no,
made
no,
again.
sorry.
No,
Not
Jeff,
Adam.
wait. I want clarification
And
from him. I want
no
clarification.
natural thing. You can't
Jungle
remake
Jargon.
yourself.
Jungle
Your
Jargon.
maker can remake you.
I want clarification from you. By being remade and then you said resurrected, what are you implying there? That seems like you're implying that we can be.
If everything is fixed about you so that you don't die, then you're resurrected, right? So if you stop dying, that means you're resurrected. If you stop dying.
What?
That loosely sounds like immortality, what you're kind of proposing.
Well, I mean, you could be continually resurrected, couldn't you? If you're made once, why can't you be remade again?
So do you think that God, no, not God, that this supernatural entity can, who's programmed us in such a way, in your view, do you believe
It
that
can,
they...
Besides that, he can remake us, and he can give us a different kind of a body too. He can give us a new body.
No, you can't call it a he. You have to call it it.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, it's a.
And furthermore, why are you assuming that is a supernatural entity? It could just as easily be
no natural thing. No, well, extraterrestrial would have to be made too.
What?
Everything has to be made. I mean, if it even existed, it would still have to be made regardless.
Okay, I pass.
And I declare Jungle Jargon the winner.
Yep, he wins. Absolutely. I'm a Christian now, by the way. I'm joining.
I'm going in the hang. Everyone,
I mean, you gotta listen to reason, right?
Oh yeah. What you have done is just clear reason and logic beyond belief. So I am no longer an atheist.
Did you learn that? Can you learn that in school?
Yeah, it's awesome.
School?
It's awesome. I'm now a Christian, and Dragnut and all the rest of you, fuck you, you goddamn atheist bastards. I'm going to church.
This stuff they're teaching in school
Praise
could be
Jesus.
wrong, right?
Praise Jesus. Absolutely. It
could be all wrong.
Yep, it's all wrong.
Especially the part about evolution and objects.
Yeah, evolution's a lie. You've proven that beyond point right now. I praise the Lord. Thank you.
Hey, what can I say?
You did good. I appreciate you, Jungle Jargon. For a long time, I dismissed you as being kind of crazy, but
people misunderstand. You know.
I apologize, sir. I thank you for it. I'm gonna go to church next Sunday.
And we're the ones that are right. People.
Yes, sir. We are. God bless you.
Demonize us for telling the truth.
Those damn atheist bastards. I ain't got no time for them no more.
Yeah, object credit givers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is pagan.
Yeah, damn pagans. We can't deal with them either. Shit. Next, I hope we stone some homosexuals next.
It's the same thing. Paganism and object credit giving.
Absolutely.
Atheism. You claim to be an atheist, but you're an object credit giver. You know. So.
No, I'm not an atheist anymore. After tonight, no, sir. I'm not an atheist anymore.
On that note, folks, head over to Steve.
Good.
Thank you.
That's good to hear. Yeah.
Thank you, Jungle Jargon, for joining us. Thank you, everyone else on the panel. I want to close it down. Head over to Steve's. Have a good night.
All right, Jack. Thanks.